Good morning. I'm Michael Cups, and I'm the host of the Habit Architect, and I'm really excited to have Julie Jones with us today. But before we get to this fabulous guest, let me just remind you that we've got an AI model, an AI habits coach that you can go try out at timebandit.io. You can ask it about your habits, or you want to build a new habit, break a habit, or if you want to prioritize your day, give it a try and let us know what you think. It's an AI coach for you. So welcome, Julie. So great to see you. Thank you so much for joining us this morning.
Thank you for having me, Michael. It's great to be here with you. I'm honored to be on the Habit Architect this morning.
We're great to have you, and I can't wait to get into the meat of the discussion and talk about this because it's such a timely topic for so many people. But before we do that, let's let the viewers get to know you a little bit. Tell us about Julie Jones and your business and yourself.
Yes, thank you so much. Well, I'm a business etiquette expert. I've been teaching business etiquette for over a decade now. Left education to do this because as a teacher in the classroom, I found that the business community was always telling us that they're not ready when they come out of high school and college. And we're working really hard in education. It's like, why are they not ready? And so I did some research and found that it was the soft skills or the people skills that was missing for the students coming into their first job and career. So I left education in 2013 to start to do this full time. I work with companies all over the United States, and go in and just help with the people skills, the customer experience, the culture. My business has expanded from strictly business etiquette to all communication and how do you understand yourself, how do you manage yourself, and emotional intelligence. And with companies, it's when you start to build people and you start to help them understand themselves, then your culture elevates and your turnover goes down and your profits go up.
Yeah, it's amazing. I work with a lot of insurance companies, and this is a topic that I hear every week by either managers, leaders, et cetera, or even young people that are entering the workforce. It's amazing. I was inspired by you, Julie. I'm doing a session, an industry insight session up at University of North Texas later today, and
Oh,
I
good.
put in one slide that talks about what you talk, and I'll give you a shout out when I'm there too. So
Oh, good.
excellent.
Thank you.
Yeah,
Yes.
absolutely. So this is a great opportunity. By the way, for the listeners, I'd encourage you to follow Julie on LinkedIn. She's got a great follow. She's got some great content that is helpful for everybody. So find her on LinkedIn and give her a follow. All right, let's get started. I was hoping to talk about three big topics, and we'll get into conversations around them. The first one will be first impressions. The second, kind of confidence and communications, and the third, kind of leadership presence, because you just mentioned that about. So I'm looking forward to all those topics. Encourage people to ask questions along the way. So let's start with first impressions. I mean, that's such a big thing, and we've always heard the adage that you only get one chance to make a first impression. But
Yeah.
put it in context of young people in business.
Right. Well, I hear a lot from young people that their concerns are that they're sitting in front of someone like you and me that are older, more experienced, and that their fear is that their youth and their inexperience is going to be a factor in developing the confidence in handling their account in whatever industry.
Yeah.
But the reality is, it's not youth and inexperience. What it is how you show up. And if you show up as someone who might be silly, or you're not dressed appropriately, or you don't enter the room with confidence, then that immediately will lower lower the image of somebody's impression of you. So the first impressions really make a difference in building the confidence and the trust that someone's going to have in doing business with you. And
Yeah.
so, my course on image and executive presence has been a big hit for companies who do hire a lot of people right out of college, and helping them show up as professional and not just as the quote unquote college kid, right?
Yeah.
It's now you've made the transition and
Yeah.
you're into adulthood. And so the way you show up matters. And it's not just about how you dress, although that is very important,
Yeah.
but it's really matching the expectation of the client and what they're expecting to walk through that door.
Yeah, and you said a magic word there in trust, and because when I think about business, I mean, regardless of what field you're in or what position you have in a company, that trust plays a big role in it. And so as far as first impressions go, I mean, are there big gotchas about, don't do this, or are there ways that you can just say, this is how you're going to be in an area that you can gain trust? Do you have some advice there, or advice on what to do or what not to do?
Right. I think the first thing we do is we work with you and your mindset. You have control of your destiny, and that you are here for a purpose. You have been given gifts and talents. You've been given dreams, and all of that is for a purpose. And so the first thing I do is encourage everyone to understand you belong in every room. I don't care your age. I don't care what your experience is. You belong in every room. And if you have a dream that has been placed on your heart, it's there for a reason. And so you might not be able to achieve that dream right now, but there's some experiences. There's a life that you have to go through. You have to meet the people that you need to meet that will help you get there. You have to learn the lessons that you're learning. And I don't like to use the word failure, but sometimes when things don't go the way we want them to, or we don't get the account, or something bombs, you're giving a presentation and you bombed it. That's not a failure. That's a lesson learned. That means that you have work to do. And so that's where we start. But then you have to when it comes to first impressions, you have to say, who is this person that I see up here years later? What does that person look like? How does that person dress? How does that person act? And really understand that you're the leader, you're the CEO of your life. And so you need to act and dress like that. And so that would be the first thing when it comes to executive presence, is own that. Own your leadership and your dreams, and start living them now. Even though you might not be there yet, you're going to get there.
Yeah, that's a great thing. I think the interesting thing, I want to make one comment. I loved what you said about the yes and no's of the world. And I think a lot of times no's aren't really no's. They're just not yet. Kind of not yet. You just need to work a little on something, or you need to do something. But the other thing you mentioned there, so showing up is interesting, because many people that are in the workforce today had a big shift during the pandemic, and we all started doing this, right? We were on Zoom calls as opposed to being in person. And do you think that that's one of the soft skills that we're not teaching kids as they go through college, that showing up is different when you leave the university grounds and you walk into that corporate world? Where I guess they can call you, but where would they get advice on how they should show up like that?
I think that's where you look to people like us who are helping coach you. I think we all need coaches. I have a coach. I have 2 or 3 coaches. Because we all need someone from the outside who has our best interest at heart. And so, when you are going through school, you have your professors. Maybe you're participating in extracurricular activities, or you're in athletics. You have people there who are helping you. At the universities all have career centers, and that's a really good place to start. I find that a lot of the career centers are really busy, and sometimes can't always get to you when you need it. But you can look to social media, connect with us on social media. Go to YouTube. YouTube is a great place to find content on how you show up. But there are all kinds of little classes and things. I mean, I even have a course on the transition, bridging the gap between college to career. I mean, these are all things that you need to know before you graduate high school and college. And what does it look like to take this next step?
Yeah.
And I had a story, just real quick. I know, but I talked to somebody just yesterday who said, my child, has been in college and now is 22 years old and has been working for about a year. And on her own, has her own apartment, and paying her bills. She calls her mom and she says, "Mom, I really don't like this adult thing. I don't like this." And I understand, because I remember making that transition myself when my dad was like, okay, here you go. Here are your bills. You know,
Yeah.
you're out of college and here you go. And
Yeah.
that moment of, oh my goodness, you know, this is a major responsibility. And I know that the research has shown that right now our students who are coming out of high school and college don't have the hope that we had.
Mm.
That there's a lot of anxiety and depression in our young people. And you know what I want them to know, and as a word of encouragement, is that it's okay. We all go through this. And
Yeah.
so let's link arms and let's help you get there. Let's give you the confidence that you need.
Yeah.
Let's pour into you, let you understand now that you're out of college, that the real learning actually begins.
Yes.
Because now you've got to learn about people, and you've got to learn about professionalism, and you've got to learn about a new routine and adulting and all of the things. It's just beginning.
Yeah.
But isn't that a wonderful thing that it's just beginning? You
Yeah,
know, it's
absolutely, absolutely. That you're absolutely right. And you know what? I don't want to say I'm old and wise, but I am older, and I like it when people ask me questions, especially young people. When they ask questions and they're inquisitive, we enjoy that so much. So let's talk about communication now. So that's kind of showing up at some of the basics there. Um, Very important, but communication is really an opportunity to gain trust or to frighten people away from you. So what are some tips around or gaining confidence and communicating? Because I know it's intimidating in your first business meeting, and maybe you let the first business meeting go before you start speaking up, but whatever the case is. But what are your tips for helping them communicate?
there's a few things around this. There's a lot to unpack when it comes around
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
But first of all, understand that you don't know what you don't know. And so communicate with whoever is helping you, your mentor in your job or career, and go to them and ask questions. And even if you feel you've got a lot of questions, you can ask for a weekly or a monthly coaching call, you
Yeah.
know, and just say, I need some time just to make sure that I'm on the right track. And so first thing, ask for help, you know, and let people know what you need, because we can't read your mind.
Yeah.
And so being verbal and taking that step is really going to be important. I think the second thing is to make sure that your body language reflects the confidence and that you are expressing that you want to be there.
Yes.
So when I say body language, let's just say nonverbal. You know,
Hmm.
if you show up 10, 15, 20 minutes late every day, the
Yeah.
communication that you're giving is that you don't really care about time.
Yeah.
But if you're showing up 5 or 10 minutes early and you're staying 5 or 10 minutes late, people will see that.
Yep.
And so when you are at a meeting, don't just show up as the meeting starts. Go in a little bit early and network with the people in the room, even if it's a team meeting. Go a
Yeah.
little bit early. Maybe bring donuts, you
Yeah.
know, and say, hey, what are y'all working on? What are you doing? And listen, and even listen to the conversations that are happening,
Yeah.
because that way you're getting a feel for the rhythm of the company,
Yeah.
and you're getting to know, you're building relationships, and they see you.
Yes.
And then finally, I think the written communication is really important. An email is a formal piece of education, or I'm sorry, of
Yeah.
communication.
Yeah.
And so we want to make sure that when you're sending an email, that you are using proper grammar and sentence structure.
Yes.
Don't It's not a DM. It's very formal, and know the difference. When do you DM or text somebody? When
Yeah.
do you send an email, and when should you pick up the phone and
Yes.
have a conversation? That form of communication is really important, in all businesses.
Absolutely, and the phone in particular is becoming less and less. It seems like, but that's okay, because that means it has more impact when you feel like it deserves a conversation, and the
Right.
phone, then that, like you said, know the purpose of each of those channels is really
Mhm.
interesting. I think that's so big, and the timeliness thing. It's interesting because I get it. that people are thinking about their own schedules and times and things like that. But when you're in a group setting like that, whether it's a team or a customer or whatever it is, when you show up on time or early, like you had mentioned, what you're telling the other people in the room, is that you respect their time too. So
That's right.
it's an interesting trade-off when you talk about trust. It's the little things like that, and that is a nonverbal way that you can gain trust, because they know they can count on you, and by the way, you know that you can count on them if they're there on time as well. So
Right.
those are great tips on communication, and I could see the reason why people and companies would like your services, because that just teaching some of those basics for everybody, even not just the young people. Some people older need to revisit those.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We've been at home for a while, and now
Yeah.
we're all going back into the office. So we're having to reestablish
Yes.
these guidelines, right?
Yes, we have to learn to behave, even though we were stuck in traffic for 45 minutes when we didn't expect to be, or something like that. That's right.
Mhm.
All right. Well, that communication, showing up, presence, etc. Now let's go into kind of, if you will, the leadership presence. How you the job you start in is probably not the job you want to be in over time,
Right.
and so that starts very early. How you present yourself, your leadership presence and confidence, and the etiquette associated with that. Can you tell us a little bit about that?
Right. Well, leadership presence, executive presence, personal branding, whatever you want to call it, it all means that you are acting, you're dressing, you're acting, and your habits, your daily habits all show that you are moving in a direction of a career path. We want people to understand that you are approachable and that you are competent. And so as we go through executive presence, we talk about the way you enter a room, the way you greet people, the way you speak to people. The premise of etiquette is respect for others. And so when you come into a company, you are, whether it's your company or somebody else's company, you want to show up as somebody that's respectful.
Mm-hmm.
And so people are looking to you, your superiors are looking to you to see if you are somebody that they can see in the future, growing through the career path.
Yeah.
Your peers are looking to you as somebody, can they depend on you right now? Are you leading where you are and setting good examples for your peers? And then your clients are looking to you as someone that can they depend on and for a good experience.
Yes.
Are you
Yes.
going to take care of them? Are you going to meet their needs? Are you going to practice good communication skills? And
Yep.
if there's an issue, how do you handle that? Because it's not that we ever make mistakes or that things don't happen. I mean, but it's how you handle it that
Yeah.
counts. And so that all comes into your emotional intelligence, right?
Yes.
Can
Yeah.
you really manage your own emotions, and can you gauge in the room?
Yeah.
Can you see what's happening in the room? Read the room. That's
Yeah.
really important.
Exactly.
And that's
Yeah.
a skill set. That's a
Yes.
skill set. And if you're not good at that, that's something you can work on.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Just learning to observe also is a big element of that, right? So
Yes.
it's interesting about this, because I was thinking while you were mentioning this about not only just the way you dress but how you present. And I've been in the tech world for 30 years, and sometimes we celebrate the kind of the startup out of your garage
Yeah.
thing, and we should, because they're very innovative. But what I've seen, as you get to a point where you're trying to sell $1 million systems versus maybe $10,000 systems, you have to carry that trust and that leadership with them, because companies aren't going to invest unless they know that they're going to get not just your product, but an
Mhm.
outcome that they want. And I
Mhm.
mean, can you talk a little bit about that? I mean, I think it is fun and celebratory to think about, the guy that invents the thing, but how do you also have that personality that says, okay, now we're going to make it meaningful to other people and companies? What's the leap there?
Well, for me, I think, it depends on knowing who you are, and understanding what drives you, your psychological and your emotional needs, how
Hmm.
you meeting them, and then how are you gauging someone else? We talk about the golden rule a lot, which is scriptural, and it's treat other people the way that you want to be treated, and that is a great rule for life, especially when you're talking ethics and you're teaching how to treat people. But when it comes to communication and when it comes to business, there's another rule that we like to stack on to the golden rule. It's called the platinum rule. And that
Mm.
is communicate with somebody the way that they want to be communicated with in their style. And so this really gets into young people. It's not about, if you are a bullet point type of person and you're talking to somebody who really needs to get to know you.
Yeah.
They really need a few minutes to find out how your weekend was, and they want you to ask them how their weekend was. And you just get right to business,
Yeah.
then you're going to be viewed as kind of cold and just transactional. And people are going to think, well, you don't really see me.
Yeah.
And so that damages that relationship, and vice versa. If you are a person who's very relational and you really want to spend time getting to know people, and you really don't roll up your sleeves and get into the weeds with your clients and your potential clients, then they're going to see that you're very superficial and they don't have confidence in you.
Yeah.
And so it's fine to be the startup out of your garage. It's fine to wear your baseball cap backwards and t-shirts if that's your image and your brand, and that's working for you.
Yeah.
But also think about who's sitting in front of you.
Yep.
What do they need? I remember doing a class on building relationships years ago for a young executives group. And it was, casual Friday. This was before COVID. So it was casual Friday. But a young man asked, and he was dressed in a button down shirt, button up shirt, very nice. It was starched. He had on dress pants and casual shoes. He looked nice. And he said, I'm a financial advisor. In our office, this is the way we dress every day. And I said, okay, looks fine. And he said, but the manager of our office is in his 60s and he still wears a coat and a tie to work every day. I said, yeah, that's his generation. That's who he is.
Yep.
And he said, so sometimes he asked me to go to lunch with him. And so my question is, should I wear a coat when I go to lunch with him?
Mm.
And I just said, oh, well, what do you think? And he goes, I think I should. And I said, and why? And he said, because I think it shows respect for him.
Yeah.
And I was like, you're spot on. You're not about you right now. You're
Yep.
about wanting to match him so that
Yep.
he's comfortable. And I said, that's the whole premise of business etiquette.
Yeah.
And he said, I have a coat, I have a jacket that I keep hanging behind my door in my office because I might need it.
Yeah. 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 That's amazing. It's about meeting, whether it's your customer, your boss, or your peers, where they are, right? It's about meeting in that same thing, not because you're conforming, but because you're part of that community, right? Is that fair? Did I sum that up right, or is that?
Yeah. I mean, some people say, but I am who I am. I dress who I am. And that's fine. Dress who you are, but you're not losing yourself by putting on a jacket to go to
Right.
lunch with your boss.
Yeah.
That's not losing who you are.
Yeah.
That's showing respect. Now, I think if somebody were to say, I want you to do something that you view as unethical or illegal, or it goes against your core values and your ethics, and you do it, that's when you lose yourself.
Yeah.
But a piece of clothing isn't
Right.
going to lose yourself.
Yeah. Yeah. I mean, all the things you've mentioned today are things that isn't going to change who you are, necessarily showing up on time, dressing to the job you're in, and things like that. Those are all things that just is going to make your experience better, right? And your peers' experience better.
Right.
So that's interesting. I think back to when you were talking about suit and ties. I think it was in the kind of early 2000s. I was doing a lot of work down in Houston in oil and gas companies, and they were still wearing ties
Oh, yeah.
and suits in every day of the week. Wasn't a casual Friday. And my goodness, in Houston in August, it's all you can do
Brutal.
to make it there without being soaking wet. But you know what? That's the way it was. That was the culture, and they were doing it. So it's
That's
what
right.
you did. Yeah, yeah.
My, how
So
times have changed, right?
yes, they have. Yes, they have. Yeah. Now you're meeting in Sugar Land over a cup of coffee at a Starbucks instead of
Right,
downtown. So,
right.
interesting.
But you're still not in shorts and flip flops, right?
That's right.
You're,
Yeah, exactly. Exactly. Those are awesome things. I guess if you were to say a young professionals in their first job, what are 3 habits about building that professional presence that you think that they can work on today? Just or 3 awareness items that they need to be thinking about.
Oh, this is great. I call this aim for what you want.
Mm,
Aim for success. So the 3 things that I always teach is number 1, your attitude slash mindset.
mhm.
When you are, especially when you're new, your mindset is, I'm here to learn and to grow and develop. Understand that your company hired you, not just so that they could pay you a salary, but that they see value in you and what you bring to the table. And there are things that they want you to do to help them reach their goal. So
Yeah.
your mindset is, what can I do? How can I grow and develop? What skills can I learn so that I can help this company grow? Because that's really what they hired you to do. It's
Yep.
not so that you could drink their coffee in their break room or, use their
Yep.
computers.
Right.
It's so that you can add value. So know what that value is and what you're working for. That,
Yep.
you've got a mindset of service. The second thing in AIM is attitude and mindset. The second one is image. So it's just what we're talking
Mhm.
about.
Mhm.
Are you showing up like you want to be there? Do you have executive presence?
Yep.
How are you speaking? Are you speaking like an educated adult, that, or are you coming in dressed, like you just came out of the gym?
Yep.
One of the things that I get called about is, people want to work out before they go to work, which is great, but they come running in with wet hair and
Yeah.
and they're trying to sit at their desk and put their makeup on because they wanted to be there on time, but they're not dressed.
Yep.
When you show up, be ready.
Yep.
Be ready. And so your image is, hey, I'm here. I want to be here. I'm dressed the part. I act the part. I talk the part. And my actions and my words match. So
Yeah.
you've got this executive presence about you that shows that you are a good fit for this and that you have potential for the career.
Yeah, yeah. I
And
don't want to interrupt. I don't want to interrupt AIM, so we'll get to the image in a minute. But image is important. You said something there that remind me that so image is also how you behave with this too, right? So if you're
oh,
sitting in a meeting and you're on your phone, that's image. That's the image you're
that's
portraying. That
image.
they don't matter. That what's on that phone
Yeah.
matters more. Right? Yeah.
You're not engaged. You're not present. You're not here. Whatever's on this phone
Yep.
matters more. And I have a story about that. Let me take a break.
Okay.
We're going to come to M in a minute.
Yep.
But we're going to take a break. So I love the story that I heard years ago from a man who was growing a company and he was getting ready to make a major purchase. And it was a major purchase to him. And
Yep.
he found the company and he liked the product and he'd been emailing and maybe talking on the phone back and forth. And the salesperson told this man that, let's go ahead and buy it. Just go ahead. And he said, I'm really a relational person and I would love to get to know you a little bit. I just want to meet in person. And it turns out that they were both going to be at the same conference in the near future, week or two
Yep.
ahead. So they made an appointment to connect at the conference. And so they're sitting outside and they're, at the conference and there's, busyness going around.
Yeah.
So they're sitting at a table and they end up sitting across from each other. And the salesperson gets his computer out, lifts up the lid, and kind of logs in and then starts talking over the computer.
Mm.
And so the man says, "Oh, he brought his computer. He's probably going to show me something. There's going to be a demo.
Yeah.
Great.
Yeah. Yeah.
We'll get to, I'm buying something. This is a big purchase for me." And there was no mention of the computer, and it was just kind of talking. And then the notifications were on, and he heard the ding, and the salesperson looked down and clicked, and then kept talking.
Yeah.
And this happened 2 or 3 times. Ding, click, keep talking. Ding, click, keep talking. So finally, the man says, "So, what's up with the computer?" And he said, "Oh, I'm expecting an important email."
Oh no.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So the message, the communication there from the beginning is, we're sitting across from the table. Now I'm going to put a computer between us, and I'm waiting for an important email. That signal to this man, I'm not important to this guy. I'm just a number.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so the deal was lost, and the
Yeah.
competitor got the deal.
Yeah. Absolutely. I see that. I could see that all the time. And and there's sometimes where you have events that are important, like maybe your wife might go into labor or something, but just say it up front, right? Say, "I just want you to know, if I get a text from my wife, I have to go,"
Right.
and they'll probably appreciate that more than anything.
Yeah. And they'll be supportive.
Yes.
Right.
Yeah. Exactly. That's a great
but you have to really get that out. And so being present is important. Whether you're in a meeting one-to-one, or if you're in a conference room or whatever, put your phone down and be present, be in the moment, because that's your image is the way others view you. And if they view you as disconnected, then, that's not a good thing.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. Okay. So now let's get back to aim. We have
Aim.
attitude,
Okay.
image, and M. And now
Yes.
we're on M.
The way you manage yourself. What systems and processes do you have in your life that helps you function? Because systems and processes are really important to everything.
Yes.
So, are you the CEO of your life?
Yes.
And so I like to ask people, what does your home look like?
Mm.
Are there dishes piled up in the sink? Do you stand in front of your closet that's full of clothes and say, "I don't have anything to wear"?
Yeah. Yeah.
That's because you have too much.
Yeah.
And so, start with your home and organize your life so that when you come into your home, there's no clutter, because research shows when you have a cluttered desk space, you have a cluttered home, your closet is cluttered, everything is cluttered, your mind is also cluttered, and you are less productive.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so what systems and processes do you have in your life? What automations do you have? Learning the technology. I have had to learn automation technology. I've had to learn AI, which is artificial intelligence. But for me, artificial AI does not necessarily mean artificial intelligence. It means actual interaction.
Yeah.
So an actual interaction is going to mean more. It's never going to go away. It's going to mean more in the future, because those who know how to have actual interaction are going to be successful.
Absolutely. I love that. And of course, with Time Bandit, I'm all about systems and routines and priorities, and what you give your attention to is your priority, whether you think it's a priority or not, but what you give your attention to. By the way, we had somebody say that they deep cleaned their stove today. So they feel like they're
Love
decluttering.
That.
There you go. Yeah.
Yes.
So
That's good.
Yeah, that's very good. And yeah, I like that. So managing yourself. So attitude, image, and how you manage yourself and how you show up. That is 3 great things to think about. And the thing that I'm interested in is you said it early on. We're not teaching that. I mean, they're not going to get that in a classroom, most likely. Maybe there's rare cases where teachers are focused on that, but there's so much of that needs to be taught, and it's just not. So. Especially when I think about, even my upbringing, I grew up on a little farm and ranch in West Texas, which was not walking into a corporate building with, 32 floors. Right. So, and that's people, they need that opportunity to learn. And I think you said something earlier too, that makes me think about the analogy, of course, is you said get a coach. I mean, or use YouTube as your coach, but get a coach. Even pro athletes, they have several coaches. They have some coaches
Yes.
that'll teach them how to throw versus how to train. You know, it's in your life, in your career, get help. Don't be afraid to ask for it. Right?
Always, because you're always growing. You know, Zig Ziglar said it best when he said it's not really about your goals, but it's about who you become in the path to getting your goals. And so we always have to be improving. And so your coaches may change. You know, you may stick with one coach for a few years and say, you know what, I want to move to something else and get a different perspective. And because that's what's going to take you to the next step. And so you always want to have somebody who is working with you, and you need to invest in yourself. The best investment that you can ever have is investing in yourself so that you can reach your goals.
Yeah.
It's hard to do alone.
It is hard to do alone. And so let's reverse that. So we talked a lot about the individual and how you manage yourself and so forth. What should companies be doing? What should a company that have this friction between Gen Zers and Boomers and Gen X that is happening? What should a company do to be proactive? Say, let's welcome them, let's teach them, let's make them part of our community because we'll be stronger for it. How does a company think about this?
Well, I'm going to go back to Zig Ziglar. He's had a huge impact on my life. And he says, we don't build companies, we build people, and people build companies. And that is spot on. You cannot grow a company by yourself. You have to have a team of people, and you have to have the right team of people. So we hire for culture, right? So you start with what is your mission, your values, your core values. And you really want to hire to those because you can train the skill. You know, I had a plumbing company for 7 years. We grew that from the ground floor up till we sold it in 21. And the one thing that we knew is, and it was a learning, like this was a learning curve because I didn't know anything about business or hiring. I just thought, well, if you know plumbing, then here's your price book, here's your keys to your van, go. But no, that's not the way it goes. You have to hire people who have your value system, and then you can train someone to do the skill. And I'll never forget, I had a young man come into my office one day, and he said, "Are you hiring?" And we really weren't hiring, but I was like, I don't know why. What, you want to be a plumber? And he said, yeah, I'm new to the area and I have no experience at all, but I was told that you might be a good place to come. And I said, well, why do you want to be a plumber? And he said, because I want to use my hands to serve others the way that Paul did in the Bible. And I said, okay, can you start tomorrow? Because I can train this young man to change out a water heater or do something, but I cannot train that heart. So, you know, when people come into your office and you see something in them of potential, then you make room for that person because your company, the people in your company are the most important. And then once you have them, you always want to pour into them. Soft skill training, the people skills, the communication, the image, the confidence. You really want to build up that emotional intelligence and feed the people in your company. And when you do that, and I've found that many of them would come in and say, do you offer training? Because I'm fine working for you, but I want to know how I can grow. So we bring in people to train on new equipment and new techniques, and we send them to training classes and then pour into them so that they can grow, because that's how you feed them and that's how you build a company.
Yeah, that's fantastic advice. Thank you so much for that. And we're almost out of time. And I could talk about this all day with you, Julie. It's great information. If somebody wants to reach out to you and contact you about your services or just in general, how do they find you?
They can reach out to me on LinkedIn. For one, it's the real Julie A. Jones on LinkedIn. I'm also on Facebook, Today's Professionals, and my website. It's to www.todaysprofessionals.com.
Excellent. Excellent. So reach out to Julie if you're not sure why yet, just follow her and you'll start seeing her content. And I'm guessing that most of the time you'll have a question about that because there's some great information there. Julie, thank you so much for your time today. Thank you for sharing your experiences and your advice. I think it's incredibly invaluable, and I'm with you on this. We've got an incredible opportunity to take this next generation of employees, workers, whatever you want to call them, and help them, even deliver more than we could have imagined.
Right.
So
They're so smart and they're so eager. We just need to link arms with them and know that they are our future. And so let's link arms with them and help them rise.
Excellent. Excellent. Well, thanks again, Julie. And thanks everybody for tuning in. Again, you can hit that subscribe button and you'll be on anytime we do a podcast. Next week, we have Kevin Wood, who is a CrossFit trainer and fireman out of Nova Scotia. I think it's that part of Canada somewhere. And he's a fantastic. I got a chance to talk to him a little bit about it. And he's very big on habits and systems. And so to carry on to what we talked about. And of course, he applies it to his CrossFit practice, but it's applicable everywhere. So tune in next week with Kevin Wood at 10 a.m. next Thursday. Julie, again, thank you so much. Have a wonderful weekend.
Thank you. You too. Thanks for this. This has been great. And I appreciate the opportunity to be on The Habit Architect.
Excellent. Thank you so much, everybody. Tune in next week.